What is going on, everyone? My name is Extreme Serial, and if you're a new player to Honkai Star Rail, then this is the video for you to watch. As a new player, you're introduced to several core features of the game that unfortunately are not really explained all that well to you and have a really significant impact on your overall experience with the game. So in this video, I'm going to demystify and explain those features to you so you can make smart, informed decisions and just have more fun with the game. So, new Trailblazers, let's get on aboard this space train and get to it. So the first and most important aspect of the game that a new player should definitely have a grasp on is how to get characters. Very shortly after starting up the game and playing through the first few minutes, you will have access to the Warp or the Stellar Warp. From that, you're going to get your first ever pull, which is Asta, a new character. This is not RNG, you were meant to get Asta. Now, after you obtain this character, the game will just leave you hanging on the screen and won't really explain further about how to get more characters or anything of that sort. So I'm going to break it down piece by piece so you know exactly how to get characters and the best way to manage your resources so you can obtain the characters that you want. To understand how to get characters in Honkai Star Rail, you need to understand what a gacha system is, or a gachapon system. For those who don't know or have never heard of that, you might have actually seen these as machines in real life, maybe in arcades or on the boardwalk or something like that. You might even refer to them as capsule machines. They're here on the screen right now, but as you can see, they have a pretty simplistic design. You put a token in the slot, or a coin, and you crank the dial. And from that, you receive a random prize. Now, most of the prizes in this machine are going to be fairly common, meaning that if you were to play the game again and again, most likely you're going to get the same reward. A few of the prizes, on the other hand, though, are going to be quite rare. There is not as much of a chance as you getting this prize, and so it might be more valuable. One of the prizes in that machine is going to be ultra rare, and that's the one that you really want. Now, this system of exchanging tokens for random prizes that have different rarities, all in the attempt getting that super ultra rare prize, that's a gacha system. And that system makes up the core of how you get characters and weapons in Honkai Star Rail. So now that you understand what a gacha system is, let's break it down how it actually works in the game. So I'm going to do that piece by piece. First, I'm going to start with breaking down what those tokens are and where we can get them. Next, I'll break down what the machines are and where to find them. And then finally, I'm going to break down just what are your chances and what's the process of getting that ultra rare prize or that character that you really want. So let's get to it. The first thing I'm going to do is open up my Stellar Warp menu. Now, if you don't know how I got here or what we're looking at, just play through the first few minutes of the game and it will actually prompt you to not only open up this menu, but do your first warp. So once you understand that, come back to the video. Now, as you can see on the bottom left, there is something that says Exchange with the L2 button next to it. It'll be different if you're playing on mobile or on PC, but I'm going to hit that button. And as you can see here, there are a lot of different things here. And for a new player, this can be overwhelming and kind of confusing. But I'm going to move down here to the Stellar Trade for now. I'll explain all the other features later, but right now I'm going to break it down piece by piece, starting with the tokens. And those tokens for our gacha machine happen to be right here. The Star Rail Special Pass and the Star Rail Pass represent our tokens that we exchange for our prizes. Now, the next question, where do we get our passes from, and also why are there two passes? Well, to answer why there's two passes, you can think of it like each pass or each token works for a very specific machine. So this one says the Star Rail Special Pass. You can think of it that it works for the Special Pass machine. And this one, the Star Rail Pass, works for the standard machine, right? So now that you understand why there's two tokens, let's talk about where you get these. Starting with the Star Rail Pass here, this one can be obtained as a new player from just raising your Trailblaze level. That happens to be a level associated with your account rather than a specific character. And you raise it from just playing through the game. The game itself will make that very clear to you. And as you raise that level, you'll just be front-loaded a lot of these passes. Other than that, the passes can be obtained by just playing through different parts of the game, and you might find that you can purchase them, or even that they just are given to you. Now, after you've exhausted all those options, where else do you get the pass? Well, that would be something called Nameless Honor. Nameless Honor is just another word for a battle pass. For those of you unfamiliar with what a battle pass is, every update you are handed this pass. And the way that it works is that you complete daily or weekly activities that increase the pass's level. Every 10 levels, you will obtain a Star Rail pass. There's a total of 50 levels, and you can get 5 passes every update. Moving on here to the Star Rail Special Pass. If it wasn't obvious from how much more the Special Pass stands out from the regular pass, this one is going to be much more limited in the game. And there's a reason why, and we're going to get to that once we get into the machines and the characters. But what you want to know for now is that for the Special Pass, one of the most common ways to get this is every update there's going to be an event where if you log in at least 10 days during the update, you'll get 10 passes, which is pretty awesome. Other than that, they might show up from just playing through the game, and if you're willing to pay on your battle pass, there is a free version of the pass and a paid version of the pass, then you'll be able to get some of these extra. Now, after those options, is there any other way to get these passes? And the answer is yes. The most common way to get the pass was nothing that I just mentioned. It's actually what you see below it. There's a gem icon and the number 160. That gem icon represents an in-game resource called Stellar Jade, and it exchanges for passes at a rate of 160 per pass. That number is very important. You're definitely going to have it memorized if you like this game and play it for a bit. And if you do, you're going to get very good at dividing anything by 160. Trust me. Now that you understand where to get the tokens for our gacha machine and that they're called passes in this game, what about the Stellar Jade? Where do we get Stellar Jade from? And to answer that, the actual scope of it is way broader than our passes, because pretty much everything in the game is going to give you Stellar Jade. Everything from doing your story quests, side quests, to your companion quests, to just doing random challenges and event challenges that come about every update, all of these reward Stellar Jade. But after you've exhausted all of these, well, where else do you get Stellar Jade? And there's two answers to that. One are doing your daily activities. Every day, if you complete your daily activities, you will receive 60 Stellar Jade. On top of that, if you're willing to pay for the battle pass at the end of it, there's some Stellar Jade there as well. And then lastly is spending real life money to get Stellar Jade, which you can then exchange for passes. Speaking of exchanging real life money for these Jades, it's a perfect way for us to move to our next section in this Stellar Trade store, one right above that says Oneiric Pouch. As you can see here, the Oneiric Pouch is where you can exchange real life money for stuff in the game. Now, looking at this doesn't look like Stellar Jade. In fact, if we look at our top right, there's two different icons. These are Oneiric shards, and these Oneiric shards, they exchange at a 1-to-1 rate with Stellar Jade. In other words, if I purchase 300 shards here, I can convert that into 300 Jade. So this screen is where you can make those purchases along with something called the Express Supply Pass. The Express Supply Pass is something I will talk about in a bit. Once again, I am going to move one category up this time to the Contract Shop. Now, the Contract Shop is where you can exchange your Oneiric shards, which we saw in the last category, for items in game. These, I guess they're kind of like packs, you can think of it. And as you can see here, there's a limited availability and they reset after a certain amount of time. This is another use for your Oneiric shards. If you were thinking previously, well, what else do they do besides exchanging for Stellar Jade? This is another use for them. Now, lastly, let's move on up a couple spots here. We're gonna skip over the Embers Exchange and Starlight Exchange for now, and head on up to the recommended section. This is always going to show the Express Supply Pass. We also saw this down here in the Oneiric Pouch. As you can see, it's the exact same thing, only here it's going into a little more detail basically to sell you on it. And the way it works is that for a certain price, depending on the region that you're playing, you are going to get 300 Oneiric shards. On top of that, for 30 days, you will get 90 Stellar Jade over those 30 days for a total of 2,700 Stellar Jades. Now, if you exchange your Oneiric shards for Stellar Jade, you're going to get a total of 3,000, right? Because 300 Oneiric shards exchange for 300 Jade plus 2,700 equals 3,000. Doing some quick math right there. And yeah, and basically what this means is that for this price over 30 days, or essentially a month, you're going to get 3,000 Stellar Jade. That's another option for getting Stellar Jade and then exchanging them for those supply passes. Before we move on to the Gacha machine section, I just want to clear one thing up. And as you can see here with the purchasing of Oneiric shards, it says that there's a bonus. So this bonus, if you read up top, says one time only. So the way the game works is that you're going to receive this big old bonus the first time you make a purchase, and it's going to give you double the shards. So you can see there's a value at the bottom and a value at the top, and they're the same. So you get double for the same price. After this, the bonus is going to go down significantly. It's not going to go away, but it's going to go down. Now, usually when the game's anniversary comes up, they reset this bonus back to the original. It's not a guarantee, but in case you're playing for a long time, just know that, and so you can understand better how to spend your money. All right, so now that you understand the concept that tokens are passes in Honkai Star Rail, let's talk about the gacha machines themselves, where you spend your tokens. And for that, it's as simple as going back to your warp screen. This warp screen is all you need to do everything revolving around your characters. So the gacha machines in this game are referred to as warps, but more commonly amongst other players and the community, they're referred to as banners. And the act of trying to get a character from a banner is commonly referred to as a pull. In other words, I tried to pull for Bronya, which was a character you can see here on our screen to the left, right? I did 10 pulls for Bronya. I did 50 pulls for Bronya. You might see this stuff online, and this is how people are talking. So if you're ever confused, that's what they mean by pulls and by banners. And that's also how I'll be referring to it as well when I talk about these things. So, like I said before, the machines are called banners or our warps, and each one is a little different. What's important is now that we understand the concept of the token, we can make more sense of what's here on the right. You can see that there are these gray passes appearing on our right. That's because this is the starter warp, and it takes the Star Rail pass, that regular silver pass that we saw before. Moving down now, we have our character event warp. These are really important. This is where you get that new bright and shiny 5-star character. I'll go over what that stuff means in a bit. But essentially what you need to know is that this is also referred to as a limited character banner commonly. The reason why it's called limited is if you look here, there is a limited duration. This banner currently has 2 days and 13 hours left on it. These banners will cycle. Usually they're up for 20 days and I think sometimes 15 if there is a smaller update, but they are limited. Now when they expire, does that mean the character will never show up again? No, it does not. Most characters, if not all of them, are going to have a rerun. It's unofficially guaranteed. There is no actual guaranteed, so do just know that. But unofficially, characters always come back around. But what's important to know is that this timing can vary completely. You never really know when they're going to come back. Some characters might rerun in a few months, whereas others might take a year or so to rerun. Usually a year is about the longest time you have to wait, but it could be more. So the point I'm trying to make here is that if you really like a character, just keep their duration for their banner in mind. Moving down yet again, we see the light cone event warp, or the light cone banner, or the weapon banner. So what a light cone is if you can guess what I said before, it's the weapon in Honkai Star Rail. That's what a weapon is. It's the light cone. Now, it's only a weapon in name. It doesn't actually change the appearance of your character at all. Your character's appearance is set in stone. So don't worry if you think that getting the bad light cone is going to mess up their design. It is not. What you should know though is that light cones go to their equipment slot where a weapon would be. They have a dramatic effect on their stats, providing powerful buffs and other beneficial effects. Moving down to the final warp or final banner, we have the regular warp, or as commonly referred to as the standard banner amongst players. Now the standard banner also takes these regular passes, as you can see here on the right. As a newer player, looking at these banners might be pretty confusing at first. There's a lot of information to take in, and not just with the artwork you see on the screen, there's a lot of buttons to click on as well, and you might not really know what they do. So I'm going to help to demystify all this for you. First thing though, let's go back to our gacha machine example and think about those capsules in the machine. They had different levels of rarity and different chances of getting them. So let's talk about rarity now. Characters and weapons in Honkai Star Rail have different levels of rarity, and that is defined through the star system. Specifically, each weapon or character has a different star value associated with them. If we look here on our screen, you can see under the names of all these characters, there's a star icon and there's a different number of stars. All of these characters, their star count adds up to the same, it's 5. They're 5-star characters, and 5 stars happens to be the highest level of rarity for anything in Honkai Star Rail. And then from knowing that 5 stars is the highest, we can kind of figure out that, well, the lower rarities must just be lower numbers, right? So that's how it works. There's 4-star rarity, 3-star rarity, 2-star, and 1-star. Now it's important to know that for characters, they can only be 4 and 5-star. There is no 3 or lower. And for light cones, which act as your weapons, those can only be as low as 3-star. There's 3, 4, and 5-star light cones. There is no 2 and 1. So if you're wondering, well, what about those 2 and 1-star rarities? Do they exist? And the answer is yes, they exist through other category of items in the game. You're going to find them through playing. These items include things to level up your character and make them more powerful through their enhancements. These are where you're going to see the 1 and 2-star items. Now that you have a good grasp on the rarity of characters in this game, let's go down here to the limited character banner as I described it before, and we can really break this down now that we understand the concept of rarity. So as you can see, Fu Zhen is featured here on the banner. She is doing her divining things, and you can see that there is a rarity associated with her name, and it's 5. She's a 5-star character. So all major character banners in Honkai Star Rail are going to feature 5-star characters. There's no such thing as a 4-star banner or 3-star banner or anything like that. So they're always going to be 5 stars. Now, if you look to the side of Fu Zhen on the left, there's 3 character portraits. So those portraits are all 4-star characters. And the reason why they're here, if you read the dialogue above it, it says that featured character receives a drop rate boost. So what does that mean? Well, when we think about our machine, right, if we put a token in the slot and turn it and try to get a random prize, what this means is that if we were to get a rare value prize, or specifically a 4-star value prize, there's an increased chance that out of all the 4 stars we could possibly get, that those 3 that you see here on the banner are going to be the ones that we end up getting. So when people try to go for characters, they're not only thinking about the 5-star there, but many times they might want to consider the 4 stars that are on that banner as well, because there's an increased chance to obtain them. Now that you have a good understanding of the tokens for the gacha machine, the different machines that are available, and the rarity of prizes in those machines, let's go over the very, very important part of what are your chances of actually getting the prize that you want. So for that, we have to understand that for the gacha machines in this game, they actually have something called a pity system. And a pity system means that if you don't get the prize that you were looking for after a certain number of pulls, the game will just give it to you. There's more to it than that. And for that, we can actually move down here to where it says view details. So now for those of you who want to read through all of this, you sure can. It will really break down kind of how the system works. There's quite a lot of information here on the screen. I'm not going to have you read through all of this. Instead, I'm actually just going to break it down for you in a much more simpler and easily to digest way. So first of all, your chance of obtaining a 5-star character is 0.6%. That's very low. Now, the positive is that if you don't get a 5-star within 90 warps, that 90th warp is guaranteed to be a 5-star. Now, there's a catch to this. We need to move on up here. As you can see, there's a 50% drop rate associated with this limited character Fujian. That's because this game centers around what they refer to commonly as a 50-50 system. Basically, when you go for a 5-star on a limited banner and you get a 5-star, there's a 50% chance that it's the actual 5-star from the limited banner and a 50% chance that it's one of these 5 stars you can see here, which appear from the standard banner. Now, if you're the person that ends up losing what people refer to as the 50-50, don't worry, it's not the end of the world. There is actually something really cool that happens. That is, the next 5-star that you get is guaranteed to be the limited 5-star from that banner. And this never expires, by the way. So the concept of pity never goes away. So that means, let's say I had 89 pulls on a banner and didn't get any 5-star. If I come back to the game 6 years from now and do one pull, I am guaranteed to get a 5-star on whichever banner I pull. It's always there. The only place where pity doesn't save is specifically for characters to weapons to the standard banner. So just to make that clear, the pity for any character banner, even if there were 2 characters, is all shared. The pity for a weapon banner or a light cone banner is only shared with other light cones. And lastly, the pity for the Stellar Warp or the standard banner is exclusive to itself. They are not shared amongst each other, but if there were more in this categories, which in the future updates of the game there will be, you're going to see that there's going to be 2 light cones and 2 characters. Those pities are shared light cone to light cone and character to character. So let's go back to the view details screen, because we went over how to get the limited 5-star character, but what about these 4 stars? Are they also kind of a 50-50 chance? 4-star characters are a little different, whereas getting a 5-star has a 90 pity, 4 stars have a 10 pity. Every 10 warps, every 10 pulls, you are guaranteed to get at least one 4-star. Now, this 4-star can be a character or a light cone. If you end up getting a character, there's a 50% chance that it's going to be one of these drop rate up characters. If not, it could be any 4-star that is currently in the game. If you were ever wondering what are all the prizes in your gacha machine, all you need to do is go to this view details page, go all the way down here, and everything is revealed. You can think of it like these are all the capsules in your machine, right? So as you can see here, these are all the 5-star capsules in the machine. These are all the 4 stars. So you can see there's quite a bit of 4-star characters, and these are the 3 that have their rate up. And then lastly, these are the 3-star capsules, which are all light cones. Yes, you can in fact get light cones from your character warp. That's usually how it works. You'll get a lot of 3-star or common value prizes. You'll get a few, maybe just one 4-star prize, and after quite a lot of pulls on average, and if you're really lucky, maybe just after one pull, you'll get that ultra rare 5-star prize. Now I want to move down and go over light cones because they work very similar to characters. They're just a slight difference. So for light cones, as you can see, it's a 5-star light cone being featured with those 3 4-stars that have their rate up. I'm going to move down to the view details screen. And you can see here some of the values have changed. As you can see, this now says 75% rather than 50, and so does this. If we go down even further here, you can see that the chance is now 0.8 and that the pity is 80 warps for your 5-star. It's still 10 warps for a 4-star, that has not changed. However, rather than the rate up being 50, it's a 75% chance. Other than that, everything works exactly the same. So, for example, I want this light cone here. I do my pulls and eventually I get a 5-star. Well, I have a 75% chance for that to be the light cone, but a 25% chance for that to be a light cone. I'm going to back up here, a light cone of one of these standard characters. You can see them down here. They have their own light cones. Specifically, if you ever want to know what these light cones look like, I'm going to go back to my exchange, and right here on what's called the Starlight Exchange, you can see that every character on the standard banner has their own light cone associated with them, and these are what you can get if you lose that 75% chance. Back to our view details page, and once again, what I want to stress is that pity works the same way in that if you were to lose out on that 75% chance, well, the next light cone you get is guaranteed to be that limited light cone. And if you were to come back 6 years from now, that pity saves, right? Pity never goes away. Now, at this point, you have a very good overview of the entire gacha system. Let's wrap this up with the last bits of information you need to really bring it together and some tips, tricks, and advice that I have to really make the most of your gameplay. So, first thing is first, let's actually go back to our exchange. So now we're going to go over the final two categories, this Starlight Exchange and Embers Exchange. Okay, so starting off with the Starlight Exchange, whenever you do your pulls, if you get rare characters or rare weapons, light cones, you're going to get something called Starlight. As you can see, it's up here. It's actually a currency, Undying Starlight. If you're ever confused at what gives Starlight, in that view more details option on the banner, it actually tells you. But what do you do with Starlight? Well, as you can see here, you got several options. You can spend it on passes if you want. You can also spend it on characters if they come about, and they're going to rotate every month. You can also spend it on 5-star light cones. It costs 600. Now, just to do some quick math for you yet again, 600 to get a light cone is the equivalent of 30 passes, so 30 pulls. Is 30 pulls worth a 5-star light cone? That is completely up to you, but just know that's the exchange rate. Moving down to Embers Exchange. Embers are very similar to that Undying Starlight. It's a currency, but as you can see, I have 360 because it's a 4-star currency. It's much easier to get. Pretty much every single pull you do will give you Embers. Only the rare ones give you the Undying Starlight. Most of them are going to give you the Embers. There's a whole lot you can purchase with Embers. These are all materials to enhance your character, and so you might be thinking, well, which ones do I get? What do I need to prioritize? The answer that I have for you is right up here, where it says deal. As you can see, you can buy 5 Star Rail Special Pass and 5 Star Rail Pass, along with this thing down here, Tracks of Destiny. This unlocks later though. So my recommendation is that every month, which is when this shop resets, buy up all the passes, 5 of these, and buy up the Tracks of Destiny. And always make sure that every month you have enough for both. It really just helps to get those extra pulls in, and it can make or break and be the difference between getting the character that you want and just being sad. Moving back to our banners now, let's answer the second question. Is there something in the game that can keep track of my pity or just what I pulled and how many I got? And that answer is yes. To see that, just go to any banner that you want to see your history for and click on View Details. Now we saw that the View Details lays out what you could potentially get, but if we look at the right here, there's a Records option. Clicking on the Records, you have access to your pull history. Specifically, it's going to show 5 on a page, and then if you click the arrow button, you can see more. Now, to calculate pity, if that's something you're interested in and how close you're reaching to it, you're going to have to do that manually. The game doesn't do it for you. Another important thing to note is that history will only be saved for 6 months. If you take a large break from the game and come back, you'll see that your history is gone. You can't access it anymore. But do not worry, your pity is still there. Remember, pity never goes away. You can come back 6 years, 12 years from now. Pity will always exist. Even if there's no records of it, the game remembers, so don't worry, it's got you covered. The last thing I have to say is just a piece of advice for newer players, and that is when it comes to spending your Stellar Jade, do not spend it on the regular Star Rail Pass, only spend it on the Star Rail Special Pass, unless you're a player that's willing to spend a lot of money, in which case you spend however you want. But the reason I say this is because this Star Rail Pass is fairly common in the game, And on top of that, usually the characters and light cones you want are going to come from the Star Rail Special Pass. On top of that, the characters and light cones from the Star Rail Pass, there's a good chance you're going to get them from pulling for that limited character. Most players want these limited characters, and because of this, if you were to take your precious Stellar Jade, which is a limited resource unless you're willing to spend a lot on the game, and you use it on your Star Rail Pass, you might get upset when you don't have enough to get the character that you want. So don't be that person, don't be that player. Be smart, be informed. That's what this guide is here for. And spend your Jades only on the Star Rail Special Pass. You'll get this periodically throughout the game. And that's it, everyone. You are now fully equipped with all the information you could possibly want to know about the gacha system in Honkai Star Rail. With this, I hope you make some great choices and get characters that you want and just really enjoy the game. So good luck, new Trailblazers. Subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys on the next one.